Welcome back, 4th grade. It's time for lesson 2 in our sketchbook about how to draw realistically. Today we're going to write the date at the top, and we can write down lesson 2, which is about overlapping. Just like last time, we're going to begin with a sphere, a circle, nice and large on our paper. Not super tiny, won't do us any good. Again, thinking of your fist as a good size to refer to, let's make one big sphere or circle in the middle of your paper. And in a moment, we will add value to this and create a three-dimensional looking sphere. But since our lesson today is about overlapping, we're going to draw 2 spheres. Now, our second sphere, we're going to use size, placement, and overlapping to show space. Even though it's a flat piece of paper, we're going to create the illusion of space using size, placement, and overlapping. So my second circle will be smaller, and it will be higher up on the paper. Smaller refers to its size. So this is this big. My next sphere will probably be just a little smaller. And placement, I'm not going to put the smaller object lower on the paper. I'll put the smaller object higher on the paper. That is my placement. And overlapping, this large circle will cover part of my second circle. So a smaller circle higher on the page. Oops, got a little bump there. And overlapping. If you saw the completed circle, it would go around here. But this large sphere is going to be covering up part of the shape behind it, overlapping. So we've got our 2 spheres on the drawing, and we need to determine a light source. That's the second or the third step. We draw a circle, that's step 1, overlapping, step 2. Now I'm going to keep going with my sun in the upper right hand corner, shining down on both spheres from the same angle, which means we know where to put our shadow on the opposite side from the sun, just like last week. I've got a shadow on the ground, a cast shadow next to this sphere, and a second cast shadow next to the sphere that is closer to us. If you weren't clear on placement before, this smaller sphere is higher up on the page, and the larger sphere is lower on the page, where it's sitting on the ground. This one's lower, this one moves up a bit. So placement will help us with the illusion of space, knowing which one should be farther away. The smaller things, or the objects farther away, appear to be smaller, while objects nearer to us appear larger. And the object in front will naturally cover over or overlap the thing behind it. Now that we've got our dropped shadow here, our cast shadow, it's time to do a little shading in between the 2 objects. This way we can separate them or define the 2 different shapes. So on the back sphere, I'm going to draw a little bit of a shadow in the crack between the 2 spheres. We could call this the nook and cranny shadow. It doesn't have to be really big, but just a little shadow to indicate a separation. And now we can use our pencil loosely and just add some shading. Remember, the light is hitting this side of the object, so that means this is going to have a hot spot or a highlight where it will stay the white of the paper. But the opposite side is where we're going to have our dark side, our shadow side. So I'm working on the shadow side with a loose pencil to give it a first pass of shading. I'll probably do 2 or 3 passes of shading. But I'm going dark on the shadow side and getting lighter, pressing lighter with my pencil as I move toward the light side. Loose pencil is fine. This is not going to be the most precious drawing in the world. All right. So that was one pass with my pencil, nice and loose. And the second time around, I'm going to use the same pencil, pressing a little bit harder in the dark spots and trying to make my shading even and smooth if I can. I darken the shadow every time I color over in it, so I'm trying to get it all the way black and have an even transition to white as we go from the shadow side to the light side. And if you like, you can use your finger to smudge and smear, going from the dark area toward the light area. Our drawing is just missing one thing, and that is the horizon line. So behind our shapes, we will show overlapping once more. Way in the distance, there is a horizon. The edge of the table or the edge of the field is way back there in the distance. Now it looks like 2 spheres sitting in space. That is the end of lesson number 2.